Have you ever felt embarrassed because you cried too quickly? Maybe it happened during a movie, an argument, or even a simple conversation, and afterward you thought, why am I like this? Most people see crying easily as a weakness, but psychology tells a very different story, and by the end of this video, you might start seeing it as something far more complex and even powerful. Let's start with this. Crying is not just an emotional reaction. It's a biological and psychological response. When you cry, your brain is actually releasing built-up emotional tension. Think of it as a pressure valve. When feelings get too intense, your body finds a way to release them. So when someone cries easily, it often means one thing: they feel deeply. People who cry easily tend to have higher emotional sensitivity. This means they process emotions, both their own and others, more intensely than the average person. In psychology, this is often linked to higher empathy. They don't just understand emotions, they absorb them. That's why a sad story hits them harder, why a harsh tone feels heavier, why even small emotional moments can overwhelm them. But here's where it gets interesting. Crying easily isn't always about sadness. Sometimes it's about emotional overload. When too many feelings stack up, stress, frustration, joy, anxiety, the brain struggles to regulate it all at once. Crying becomes the release. It's not that they're weak, it's that their emotional system is highly active. Now let's talk about something most people don't realize. People who cry easily are often more self-aware. They're more in touch with what they feel, even if they don't always understand it fully. While others suppress emotions, they experience them in real time. And suppression might look strong on the outside, but it often leads to emotional buildup over time. That's why people who rarely cry sometimes explode emotionally later. In contrast, those who cry easily tend to process emotions more frequently, in smaller doses. But of course, this trait comes with challenges. In a world that values emotional control, crying can be misunderstood. People may label them as too sensitive or dramatic. Over time, this can lead to shame, especially if they've been told to toughen up or stop crying growing up. And that's important because childhood experiences play a huge role here. If someone grew up in an environment where emotions weren't properly guided or regulated, they may struggle with emotional control as adults. Crying becomes the default response because they were never taught alternative ways to process feelings. On the other hand, some people cry easily simply because their nervous system is more reactive. It's not learned, it's biological. Just like some people are naturally calm, others are naturally more emotionally responsive. So what does all this mean? Crying easily isn't a flaw, but it can become a problem if it starts interfering with daily life, relationships, or decision-making. The goal isn't to stop crying completely, it's to understand it and manage it. Learning emotional regulation is key. This means recognizing triggers, pausing before reacting, and finding other ways to release emotions, like journaling, talking to someone, or even just stepping away from overwhelming situations. Because here's the truth, your emotions are not the enemy, but being controlled by them can be. And if you are someone who cries easily, you don't need to fix yourself. You need to learn how to work with your emotional depth instead of fighting it. Because in the right environment, that sensitivity becomes strength. It makes you more compassionate, more human, more connected. And in a world where most people are emotionally disconnected, that's rare.